Bede is surfing so good. I watched his hit against Adrian Buchan, and he's ripping. I don't know. My strategy is gonna be just to get the good ones. Just try to surf and not worry about him because he's surfing good too.
I've had heats against Medina, and he loves a good battle. So I don't know. You got to kind of do the opposite to him, I guess. And I don't know. I think this comp's just going to be about surfing and not really about the other stuff. It's so perfect out there. So I'm just worrying about getting barreled.
Hearing from Medina and Bede on this matchup coming up in the first semi-final of the Billabong Pro Tahiti. Bede, number 14 in the world, surfing against the most informed surfer in 2014. Gabriel coming into his first semi-final appearance in the Billabong Pro Tahiti as he'll paddle into the first wave. Medina locks in one big pump, and he's deep. The wave spits. He has another section, and he makes it. The Superman claim on his way out the back to set up this first semi-final. Potts, what number are you going to give this thing?
I got all 10 fingers up, Joe. Look at this thing, driving through the barrel. Beautiful pumping. He's got the pedal to the metal and then gets that west bowl as well. That opens up for him, and Medina comes flying out of that one. Let's see how, oh, well, the judges aren't seeing what I'm seeing, but that was a pretty good wave there from Gabriel Medina. Maybe it wasn't as big as what the judges would like to have seen, but it is going to be pretty close to a perfect score. Let's have a look again as he drags the hand there and now hits the gas and starts pumping through the section. All right, he's gone. He's behind the curtain. Critical stuff right now. As he drives through the section, he thought he was coming out and then got the bonus section. Had to drive high again as Medina comes flying out at the end of that one. A 9.67 for Gabriel Medina to start off semi-final number 1.
And you always know how Medina's feeling every time that he surfs with passion, his emotions on his sleeve, and he is starting off in an amazing way. Durbidge lets this one go. And the thunder and the roar of the reef never get old. The most haunting sound as you hear this wave detonate one more time. That was the sound that woke us all up at about 3 in the morning this morning, Potts.
It's the thing nightmares are made of. I'm sure a lot of the guys didn't get too much sleep last night. That is for sure. I know if I was competing, I wouldn't have got much sleep, that's for sure.
Well, Kelly Slater just took out Owen Wright, and he's sitting on the boat with Rosie Hodge.
Kelly Slater, you can't really say much more about that performance. Just talk us through that 10-point ride that you got.
It was actually, you know, for the size of the wave, I was pretty lucky with the angle it was coming because it wasn't super west. And it actually let me in pretty easy for how big that wave was. And then, you know, I kind of just had, there wasn't like a whole scoop for the whole face. It was like a little one at the top. And then it was like a nice transition in. And then when I set my rail, I knew I wasn't real deep, but based on how thick and wide the barrel was, I knew it was, you know, really gnarly big tube. So it was going to send a lot of foam back up the face. And, you know, I was thinking, gosh, maybe I'm not super deep in this thing, but then the foam ball completely covered me, just completely soaked me, and I was like, well, I couldn't be any deeper, I guess. So, and I came out going about 100 and I had to pass about 50 skis. It was fun.
All right, and this is, I mean, yourself and John and Florence have pretty much been going heat for heat in terms of heat totals. Coming up against each other in the semi-finals, I mean, that's probably one heat that you're going to be looking forward to, and what's it going to take to, you know, defeat John in that one?
I got to try and get probably the same score I got in that heat to you know, be in there with a chance. I mean, you know, I was really hoping John and I would be on opposite sides of the draw, or at least have, you know, Owen on the other side of the draw too, because I mean, those guys have both been so on fire. It's just nonstop out here. This is insane. This is like the most crazy thing I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, obviously looking forward to it, and not. But you know, we're gonna have fun. Alex, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have fun. So you know, we're on the same boat. So we're gonna make, you know, one of us gonna be in the final from our boat. So be all fun.
All right, well, Kelly, we're really looking forward to that semi-final. I know that Pete does have Owen Wright. He's been a champion throughout this contest. So take it away, Pete.
Yeah, thank you, Rosie. And here with Owen Wright. What a performance the entire event. I mean, just charging each and every heat, posting huge scores. How do you feel about your performance here at Jopo this year?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. That last heat was just, yeah, the score doesn't show, but there was one at the start that if I made that, there was a 10, and there's, I mean, it's always one of those heats against Kelly. You got to get pretty much 10s, and he kept his game and got 10s, and I just got licked. So, I mean, I had a lot of fun out there, and you can't, you know, opportunities like this to catch waves like this, it's incredible.
And you're saying that your Pete with that wipeout, it really took it out of you.
Oh yeah, that flogged me. Yeah, I didn't come up for a while, and just the sheer flogging, like how many times just flipped me around, and I really lost my breath, and I kind of just probably lost my cool a little bit too after that first one, and then next one on the head, I was really kind of wasted. So I just took my time on the ski and just head down and just try and recover. I knew I had a big task ahead of me still, so but the waves didn't really come. But I'm kind of glad I didn't get any more floggings, but I would have gone anyway.
That's for sure. Loving the attack there by Owen Wright. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Pete. Thanks a lot, Owen Wright, for putting on one of the most memorable performances ever witnessed here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti, finishing with a quarterfinal result as he's back to get back into that world title contender conversation. It was slow to come by for Owen. He had some close heats at the start of the season. Breakthrough performance at Jeffreys Bay. Kind of always right where he left off in Tahiti. Remember making the final and also the semifinal in 2012. He's going to take a lot of momentum back to lower trestles, where, remember, he's finaled in the past.
That he has. You know, I'll tell you what, he's right on track, is Owen Wright. I mean, he's an amazing competitor, and you can tell by, his attitude. He's a little disappointed about his performance there. But I'll tell you what, that whole thing of just getting the biggest beatings ever and then saying to himself, look, if another one comes, I'm going to go no matter what. So that's the kind of spirit that Andy Irons had, and that's why for me at the moment he is in the running for the AI award this year.
Andy Irons' Most Committed Award, a big part of this event. Brought to this event a few years back. It's been awarded to Jeremy Flores. He's had a perfect heat out here before and surfed it with reckless abandon. And everything you hear about Andy in the past, there's always the word raw that kept coming up. He would tell you how he felt after a heat. He always, had his emotions right there for you to watch. He took every win with everybody. He shared his world title moments with the world, and to have his last event win here in Tahiti is extra special for us, Spots.
Absolutely right. Amazing, amazing career, amazing human being. We're going to miss him. We do miss him so much. And just that, for this kind of wave, you've got to have a certain kind of attitude, and Andy's attitude matched the wave. It was just a marriage made in heaven. I mean, you look at that wave there, and that's got as much anger and aggression as Andy used to have when he competed out here. So it just was a perfect marriage.
So remember, 25 minutes still to go, and look at this thing going below sea level. We knew we had 10 to 15 foot surf in store for finals day, and it's still yet to seem like we've seen the peak of this swell, Potts. We've seen some bombs in the last couple of heats.
Yeah, it's, well, it was predicted to sort of stay this big throughout the day, and Surfline have just nailed it, Joe. Absolutely perfectly. Big swell, light winds. We thought day one was special.
Medina looking over the edge. We remember back in his quarterfinal appearance with Kolohe and Dino, Kolohe tried to outdo Medina with strategy of getting the first wave of the heat, and they paddled out of position. The head judge, Richie Porta, was watching the whole thing, saying they're out of the area. They did not get a restart. It ended up kind of backfiring on Kolohe, and they had to kind of regain composure and surf basically a 19-minute heat or so. Right now, Medina was able to get that first heat again at 9.67. If competitors know that's Medina's strategy, is there any way they can paddle around him and kind of take that off him?
Well, you've got to be prepared to go deep with him. That's the thing. You've got to be prepared to play his game and be better at it, or just let him get the first one and rely on your abilities to come back. So there's two ways to approach it. Take it to him. Don't let him get on the inside, ruffle his feathers, or let him go and play his game and you just stick to your guns. So there's two ways to do it. I mean, you know, on a day like today when it's super consistent, you know, you fall into someone's trap and then all of a sudden, you know, you're playing catch up and your feathers are ruffled rather than his. So, you know, it's a real fine line between, you know, stopping him from playing his game and then losing focus on your own.
Well, because remember the start of the final in Fiji. As we go back to this one, Bede Durbidge locks into a dreamy one. Let's go the rail. He is so deep. And there's no exit in store for Durbidge. And he goes down on his first attempt.
Wow, he came up pretty quick too. So Bede's starting to work this wave out. Not only is he learning how to get barreled out here, but he's learning how to fall. And that's a real technique out here, Joe. You know, we watched, I watched Laurie Towner in the Code Red swell. You know, if he was too deep in the barrel, he'd flick the board and pin drop, like literally feet first, and get his body into this as tight a tuck as possible. He'd pin drop and come straight out of the back of the wave. So there is ways to wipe out here at Chopu, and Bede's obviously learning on the fly right now.
Bede a 1.67, Medina a 9.67 by getting that crucial first wave. What he loves to start off with. More insight on tactics. We'll send it to the desk with Ronnie, Aki, and Strider.
Despite the fact that Bede Durbidge fell on that wave and only got a 1.67, I kind of like where he's heading with it, Ock. Taking on those waves, those bigger waves, as deep as he can go. Because Gabriel, even though he's got that 9.67, we haven't really seen him swing on the biggest waves of the event so far.
No, it's true. Gabriel's been surfing really smart, though. He's been getting really deep, and he gets so much speed with just one pump. But Bede, you're right. In his quarterfinal, I think he had a good talk to himself and just went, come on, snap out of it, charge. And he took that huge drop, wiped out, and then got two big waves, a 10 and a 9. So, you know, I'd be watching out for him in this heat right here. After
that heat, we actually got a chance to hear from him, Strider, and he said that he learned in that heat that if he just waited for those waves to come to him and didn't jump the gun and paddle out to them, then he'd get himself in a better position, and that's what you got to do out there, right?
Yeah, it seems like that's what he's trying to do out there right now. You know, Medina's game plan, as we heard Kolohe talk about, get out there, get on the board with a 9 right away. Usually he's going to take him down. I think if he does just sit out there and wait for that big, huge wave to come through, then he will actually, you know, get the high score out of it. I think Medina, well, I want Medina to turn and burn on one of those massive ones. We haven't really seen it yet, but we know he's got it in him. I really want to see that kid turn on the big one, man. It'd be incredible to see and really change the opinion of a lot of people.
We feel that Bede Durbidge's best chance in this heat, guys, is to find the biggest waves that come his way and put himself as deep in the tube as he can. Gabriel, he seems to be a little bit more tactical in his wave selection.
Thanks for the update, Ronnie, Aki, and Strider. A great matchup on paper for Bede Durbidge. It says one of his best results in a long time, his personal best ever here in the Billabong Pro Tahiti. Remember when he won the Pipe Masters, the swell was a lot smaller. The final was actually run it off the wall that year, and it came down to turns. But he's had some impressive showings at solid backdoor. Likes getting barreled. It's his favorite thing in the world, but he's surfing conditions like this, you know, where he hasn't had a ton of experience in, and still providing some amazing performances. That's just showing that natural ability and his knack to win.
He's a big, strong guy, you know, and you know, he's reveling in these conditions. He's learning how to ride this wave, and you know, just that whole thing of realizing, hey, I can't run out to it, because that's your initial reaction. Initial reaction is you see the big sets coming, everyone starts whistling, you're like, I'm out of here, and you literally run for the horizon because you don't want to get caught by those things. The last thing you want to do is get mowed down, and then what happens is you're too far out and you can't get over the top of these waves. You've got to be sitting underneath, and that takes a lot of guts to do that. Let me tell you right now, when the whole of the Pacific Ocean stands up in front of you, you're telling me you're going to sit there and wait for it to come to you? That takes some real guts right there.
Insane to watch, but that's the recipe for the world's best out here at Chopu, not going too far out and taking off underneath the beast as it's pulling so much water up the face and going against the grain for where you want to go, paddling against a river rapid. It's amazing to watch. The crazy part is the desk was noticing before Medina's role throughout this event. We've seen Owen Wright take some serious floggings, John Florence stand tall in closeouts and take some beatings. Medina seems to find waves that let him out every time. Have you seen him take a serious wipeout in this event?
No, same with Kelly. Have you seen Kelly take a serious wipeout? I think maybe Kelly might have not made maybe one wave this whole event. So, you know, those guys are saving energy. They're not wiping out. And when you wipe out here at Chopu, it takes a lot out of you. You heard Coyote say, you know, he got flogged. He had nothing left in the tank towards the end. You heard Owen Wright say, you know, he was absolutely drained. That thing picked him up and slammed him down and just twisted him around. And, you know, you do a couple of those in a heat, and I tell you what, it takes a lot of energy out of you. And then all of a sudden when those big ones come, you don't have that psych, that same energy, that same intensity to go those good ones. And you know, Gabriel Medina's doing what he needs to do to win his heats. He's got a strategy, he's playing to it, and it's working. And that's why he's #1 in the world right now.
Well, we still have plenty of time for Bede Durbidge to make a comeback. The boys on the desk thinking he needs a bomb and needs to take off deeper than what Medina's doing. Pete Mel's out on the channel. Are you noticing the swell subsiding, or do we still have some heavy ones to come?
Definitely some heavy ones to come. You know, there's those little lulls we got to wait through, but you know, I was just kind of taking note of, you know, when Kolohe and Gabriel paddled to the right, basically way up there, that was a perfect way of Kolohe trying to show, you know, that he can play the game too. And whereas you saw in this heat that basically Bede conceded, and of course what happens is that Gabriel picks up that 9-point ride and puts all the pressure on. And now, you know, rather than being able to surf a good heat, you know, or just a nice paced heat, he knows he needs a 9 just to be able to keep up in this thing. So now he's got to be more choosy. He's got to put himself in, you know, probably a little bit more danger. So all of a sudden it changes the way of your tempo of your heat.
Hey, Pete, but Bede did that against Ace. Ace dropped a big bomb on him, and then Bede came back and really put the pressure on Ace. So maybe he can do the same thing against Gabriel.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're saying it. There's 10s out here for sure to be had. You know, it's just a matter of manning up and getting in the spot and doing it. You know, and Bede really impressed me in that last heat against Ace. I mean, he surfed. You know, would we have ever called that before this event? I would say we probably wouldn't have, you know, but now I'll remember this, and each time we come back here, we're going to say Bede, someone to beat.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, you've been super busy in the channel, and I see you floating with a surfboard. What do you have there? I'm
holding on to actually Gabriel Medina's board because it's got a leash, and it allows me to hang here without getting dragged into the pit every single second.
Is Charlie out in the lineup?
I'm a caddy.
Is Charlie out in the lineup, Pete?
He is. He's right next to me here. He's just.
Is he smiling?
No, not yet. You know, after every heat, though, he does go over there. He gives him a big kiss and a hug, and they go to business. You know, it's really cool to see actually the support that he has for him. They've got a great relationship. You know, I'm a stepdad as well, and you know that relationship it's more of a friendship, but also you know you develop it into this family. And, you know, that kind of stuff is pretty neat to see.
Yep.
Well, Charlie making a huge role in Gabriel's career. Gabriel dedicates all of his success to Charlie, who's sitting on the board right now on the channel. Pete, do you mind giving us the dimensions on the board you're holding?
Yeah, you know what? They're top secret. None of the dimensions are actually, yeah, he doesn't even write these. It's, you know, Cabianca designs. You know, Cabianca's been shaping his boards. I mean, I've actually measured him up. He rides a lot wider boards than most of the guys his size. I mean, he's up in upwards of 19 inches, which is a bit different than you would see. And they're really, you know, very conservatively designed. You know, there's nothing really fancy about it. You know, all the talent is basically in this kid's head and in his body.
Well, we're talking about the topic of Medina seemingly to avoid a major wipeout up into this point. Is there anything we've missed? Have you seen him take a serious flogging up to this point?
No, he's absolutely played the smartest game ever. And you know what? I mean, in talking with anybody who did take those beatings, Coyote and Owen Wright, it just takes it out of you. It takes all the energy away. It's tough, you know, and I got John kind of chuckling here, but he hasn't had a real major wipeout either. So it's like, you know, they know that, and that's what they have to do is not make mistakes. To save your energy, especially on finals day. You know, they're going to surf a lot of heats.
Well, we know yesterday, Pete, the channel was a little bit chaotic. What's the feeling like with all the boats on finals day? Well,
it's still got a little tinge of chaos. You know, this is actually more of the tamest areas, just right here, just next to the wave. You know, there's lots of flotsam. You know, there's stand-up paddle boards and swimming and lots of boats. So it's definitely chaotic. But you know what? It's cool. You know, a little bit more pace than the Sunday afternoon yesterday. But still, definitely the energy is there.
Thanks so much, Pete, and enjoy this wave. Gabriel Medina locks in, bottom turns, nice and deep. Perfect flow and rhythm and bonus section towards the West Bowl. And he comes out.
Well, there we go. Another wave into the 9. Have a look at Bede, though.
Bede super deep on the foam ball. A serious section takes out Bede Durbidge. He locked in the takeoff, one of the hardest parts, and another massive foam ball takes him down. Advantage to Medina as he strengthens his lead.
You see, he's on those ones that are makeable, Joe. He's on the ones that he knows he's going to get high 9s into the high 8s into the 9s, I should say. Let's have a look at this here. Nice, easy takeoff. Bottom turns, just nice, great positioning there. Nothing crazy right now. And this is where it hits that west bowl and just gives him that bonus section there. So Gabriel Medina, very similar to wave number 1, and does the splits there. So, and Bede Durbidge right behind, he's on one of those beasts, those ones that are really difficult to make, and grabs that rail. And that's what John said, you know, once you grab that rail, you can't really do those pumps. So maybe Bede's got to let go of the rail and try and sort of pump through that barrel and try and get some momentum as he gets back onto the ski. He hit the bottom there, taking in the deep breaths. Good to see he's all right. Tell you what, those waves take it out of you, and you can tell these guys are the fittest, some of the fittest athletes in the world, but no match for Mother Nature, Joe. You know, that's our playing field. Our playing field chases you down and mows you down, and takes a lot of energy out of you in the process.
Will Bede Durbidge catching his breath just for a moment. He still has 12 minutes and 30 seconds to try to make a comeback in just his second semifinal of the year so far, as he'll be getting a little bit closer to that top 10 scenario, back what we used to expect from him. He's made the top 5 3 times in his career, 4 times in the top 10. Last couple of years, he's dealt with some changes, and he's on the road back. A semifinal result's going to put him in an amazing position at lower trestles.
Which is, like you said, an event that he's won. He beat Kelly Slater in the finals there. So, you know, Bede's coming into the back of the year pretty confident. 2 out of 4 events that he's going in, he's won before. And he feels comfortable in those big beach breaks in France and Portugal.
Well, Medina still waiting on his second score. Already has a 9.67, a perfect start, as he looks like he's on road to the final.
If we look at the world water crisis, it's overwhelming. It's not about going out there and trying to save the world. It's about going out there and doing your part. And nobody said you couldn't have fun while you're helping people.
Welcome back to semifinal number 1. It's world number 1, Gabriel Medina, setting the pace. He started with a 9.67. Second score just in, a 9.0. 18.67 total in first. Bede Durbidge has been charging, and the numbers don't show that because he didn't make the 2, but he had a 1.67 and a 2.5 to start.
On 8 to 10 foot waves that had he come out of, Joe, had he come out of, those would have been up into the 9s and 10s.
So a crazy roll in this first semifinal. Bede Durbidge trying to get back into that final feeling, but he has his hands full with Gabriel Medina. 2 perfect scores to start, the 9.67 and 9.0. I guess when we say perfect, it's, you think about 10s. We've had a lot of those throughout this event. They need to save something in the tank for the final. And you look at the fitness quality for these guys. Remember, Bede had to serve in that round 5 against Michel Perez earlier this morning. So he went from round 4 to round 5 to a quarter. This is his 4th surf in 10 to 12 foot chopu.
And he's taken donuts in every heat, you know, because he's charging. You know, he's working the spot out. He's working out what ways to catch. He's working out where to sit. He's working out how to deal with those big bombs coming at you, and having the just the know-it-all and the guts to just not run for the horizon. I think that to me is a credit to him. You know, speaking of those big scores that we've had in this event, we've had 6 10-point rides. Let's have a look. We've got, I mean, there's been some incredible waves, Joe. There's been, you know, heaps of waves in the 9-point range. Hedgie, John, Kai, Kelly, Owen, Bede. You know, Kelly's always getting 10s out here, isn't he? But it's just a testament of how good the surf is and how good the quality of surfing really is.
It's special when you get waves like this and the world's best. It was an emotional 10-point ride for Nathan Hedge. He set things off for us in that round 2, heat number 2 clash with Adriano de Souza, that's when you really started smelling those upsets starting to happen. We lost a lot of the guys that we thought were the favorites to win here at Chopu. We always talk about favorites at every venue. When you get a wave like this, you can see how lethal the entire top 34 is and how quick they are to step up their game in waves like this.
Yeah, and I think we've got to stop referring to the favorites, because that no longer comes into play anymore. This event has really taught me anyway that everyone's got that capability of winning, and we've got to talk about the top 34 in the same breath as we talk about the guys going for the world title, because the Tiago Perez, the Brett Simpsons, the Dion Atkinsons, the Bede Durbidges, they stepped up here and proved that, hang on a sec, we're favourites too. We should be in that conversation of, if we're in the top 34 or the top 32, sorry, we have got the ability to win this event and possibly a world title as well.
That's right. Gabriel Medina is a guy that came out of the gates already as a world title contender with his rookie year on tour, winning 2 events at the mid-season rotation, losing the Rookie of the Year race to John Florence. As we check out the heat recap of semifinal number 1, let's start with a 9.67 for Gabriel Medina.
Yeah, it's all Medina at the moment, that's for sure. And you can see the waves he's picking there, those got a little bit of south in him with that little bit of west bowl, and Gabriel Medina comes flying out there. And this was his second wave, a 9-point ride. So Gabriel Medina, 2 waves ridden so far, both waves in the 9-point range. And you can see, look at the waves he's catching. It's just giving him those length of ride, deep barrels, and he comes flying out like he always does. Now, Bede Durbidge, on the other hand, he was charging from the get-go. He was catching the bigger waves, sitting deeper on the reef, but unfortunately not coming out. And I tell you what, taking in the deep breaths there. This heat's not over. Bede can do it. He did it against Ace Buck, and he came back from nowhere to take that one out. He's got 6 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Plenty of time still on the clock for Bede to come back. Gabriel Medina knows that as well.
You're riding all 3 fins, huh? 4 fins. Oh, today? So my backups are all 3s. I just didn't have other sets of 4 fins. So they ruined me.
They did. You roasted you. Belly.
Telling me to ride just 3 fins today.
Talking to Kelly about his equipment before, he thought he was on a thruster. He actually snuck a quad, and Pete notices everything. Usually Pete's got everything out there on wire. He's keeping control of everyone in the channel. He's watching the biggest sets come through. He whipped in Anthony Walsh from GoPro into a bomb this morning to set off this tone for finals day. Interesting to see that quad thruster whole conversation go on, because Kelly's been the guy that's really dedicated to that 4-fin setup in the last few years.
Hey, Pete.
I was trying to argue with Potts, and I shouldn't do that ever.
Hey, Pete, we heard you chatting with Kelly Slater about what board he's riding, mate. Is it a quad or a 4-fin?
No, you're right. It was a quad. You're absolutely right. All of his backups are 3 fins. Belly's the one who told me that they're on. He's just throwing smoke screens.
Right, Belly 3 under the bus, did he?
Yeah, big time. Big time. But you know what? He's got it figured out.
Great job, Pete. It's always a competition, isn't it?
It sure is, right? I mean, it's what we do.
now, Pete, what's the thinking behind having a quad that he's riding and then a backup as a thruster?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he's having a conversation over here. Kelly, what's the reason why you have backup 3 fins, but you're riding a 4-fin? Because he doesn't have other sets of quads. That's the truth of it.
11 times world champion doesn't have a spare set of quads.
Oh, I got an extra pair. Oh, too good.
I think Kelly could ride that board that you're holding there, Gabriel Medina's, and still do well. Right. But Gabriel Medina at the moment, Joe, 9.67 and a 9, and Bede Durbidge needs to get busy. 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. Gabriel with priority though, so Bede really in a tight situation.
Very true. Passing the 5-minute warning. We've talked about the 4 to 3 minute mark as a window to try to come back from that combination spot. Amazing to see how smart Medina is on choosing the right wave that he knows he can make. We heard Brett talk about it. He paddles out, doesn't worry about who's screaming in the channel. He takes off on waves that he knows that he can make. We saw him do so well, making it after round. Medina's had a similar type of wave knowledge out here at Chopu. Came here nice and early. He's been staying with former event winner Bruno Santos, staying with an all-Brazilian contingent, playing poker every single day, surfing a ton, and you can tell this last couple of weeks for Medina have been insane as far as learning the ropes here at Chopu.
Yeah, and what a guy to have in your corner. I mean, Bruno Santos is doing the Portuguese webcast just behind us, and he's doing a great job at it. But, he's just a one of those, I mean, he's taken down the big names out here. He knows which waves to catch. He knows where to sit. He knows how to approach this wave, and it's very, very similar to what Gabriel Medina's doing right now.
3:30 to go, Potts, and we just have had 4 waves ridden. All makes for Medina, 2 big wipeouts for Bede Durbidge so far, a 1.67 and a 2.50 as he's starting to really run out of time. First priority again with Medina. We saw this in the heat with Kolohe and Dino, where every time Medina had priority, the best waves were coming through. He controlled that heat from start to finish, just like this semifinal.
You know, I had a funny feeling about Medina, you know, from the get-go. You know, never ridden Chopu at this size. You know, we just saw, like, I've just been watching him grow up. You know, I've been watching him. He's put on the muscle. He's starting to get stronger. He's riding bigger boards. He's surfing smarter. You know, he took out the win on his backhand. He's starting to refine his game. You know, and this is just that next step for him. And I think that, you know, he's taken the bull by the horns. He's really done well out here. And I'm not surprised that he's all the way here.
Having a look with priority, Medina starts to paddle. We had Bede right in front of him. He saw Medina hold his hands up and pull back with 2:30 remaining. We'll look at the priority cards, and they're still keeping Medina with first priority, Potts.
Interesting situation, Joe. Medina kind of had a go at that, but Bede was sort of right next to him, and you know, you've really got to give your opponent some room to move. We saw Bede in a little bit of a fracas with Taj Burrow at Margaret River. You know, it's competitive surfing, you know, rub shoulders. We used to do a little bit more than rub shoulders back in the day.
I used to love hearing the old stories of back in your day, Potts, and the priority buoy. You had to paddle around, and things would get a little aggressive because you're pretty far out to sea.
I remember when they first brought that in, I had a paddle race with Dane Kiloa, and we both went around the priority buoy different directions, and he literally paddled straight over the top of me. And I went, I'll never do that again. So, you know, it's good the way the sport has evolved, and, you know, I'm looking at our sport now as probably the best it's ever been. You know, you look at the characters, you look at the talent pool. I mean, you know, this event especially, all the way down to the guys like Brett Simpson down the bottom. He put on one of the best performances out here. So, you know, we've got 32 of the world's best surfers, and they really are 32 of the world's best surfers.
Really fun to watch as we approach the final minute of this first semifinal with Bede Durbidge still comboed. You can start preparing for Gabriel Medina to be in the final of the Billabong Pro Tahiti for the first time in his career. Remember, still world #1, wearing that yellow jersey, as he's going to distance himself from the pack. Once you make a final, the CT level, you're guaranteed at least 8,000 points.
Yeah, and that's a good chunk of points, you know. It's going to go well and truly towards requalifying, you know, putting yourself in a better position. You know what, people forget there's 4 events to go, and this is a real momentum gatherer right now.
So now Bede Durbidge gets his final wave. He'll just coast his way to the channel and live this one proud. His best result ever in the Billabong Pro Tahiti. He'll be flying up the rankings, getting close to that top 10 picture. Bede is back, a fearless charger. Took some heavy waves throughout this effort, and now the superstar Medina will just get a little warm-up wave, throwing some turns down as he prepares for a final matchup. It'll either be between John Florence or Kelly Slater.
Wow. Now, either way, it's going to be an amazing final, guys. It's probably going to be the heat of the entire event, because the cream always rises to the top. The guys that have attacked this wave better than anyone are all here in the semifinals right now.
Well, everyone prepare for semifinal #2. Kelly Slater takes on John Florence coming up next.